we can overcome that. Not in hope and dreams, but with technology and applied science, we can build a world far different than the world we live in today, where war would be unthinkable, or another person wanting to hurt another person would be unacceptable. Kids would be brought up, here's how it's done, if you want to know that. We have a group of kids, and they're building things, little animated things, and older kids of different nationalities come over them and give them tips on how to improve it. Black kids, Orientals. So every kid becomes extensional to one another. Every person that I meet has extended my life, opens up area. So you're pleased to meet everybody. But in the past, the distant past, when one nation went to another, they didn't go there to help that country. They went there to exploit it. Cheap labor, take their oil, their land, their minerals, whatever they can take. So nations become very suspicious of one another. They don't trust each other because of the past. Thousands of years they've been doing that. But in our world, when we understand by sharing technology with the world, everybody working together to make the world a better place, we would benefit millions of people fast. For example, they say, what would you do about handicapped people? We'll work on every device, the growing of organs if we can. No more digging up nickels and dimes for heart disease or cystic fibrosis, going around with a little box, right? What do you need in your lab? One electron microscope or two? We have the resources. We'll make it available. This stupidity of digging up nickels and dimes or food care packages for Africa does not solve problems. Makes you feel good. You walk down the street with a protest sign, you feel good. That's what the trouble with the liberal is. The liberal thinks man is being exploited. Industry should pay help higher wages. This is what unions believe. If they got that, we would lose our competitive edge in national trade. Do you understand that? The country would collapse. If labor unions win out, I'm not against labor, don't misunderstand me. They want a piece of the pie, that's all. But if you have labor unions, if they succeed, we couldn't compete with Japan or China. We would die. So even if you succeeded in electing, I don't want to name anybody, a very liberal human being, a decent person, and he upgrades the scale of everything, taxation for the rich would be higher. Competitive edge would be lost. So the system would collapse sooner. If a guy like Ralph Nader were elected to political office, I believe he's a real honest guy. And if he were elected, he'd probably be shot by the established order, or he would make things so great for the poor that we would lose our competitive edge. He would have health care for the old and disabled, He couldn't enact that legislation. There's not enough money you can collect for that. But not knowing those things, Ralph Nader thinks technology is something else, and decent guy in government is something else. It's not. It's about overcoming scarcity. When you eliminate scarcity, if you ever attain that, there's no more people hitting you on the head, taking your watch. If they can have it, it's cheaper to give a person a watch than have these kids run wild. It's cheaper to make things available to people. In other words, as technology improves, I'm sure you've seen motion pictures of new production methods moving in real fast. Chemicals, all kinds of objects are treated by machine fast. And so that tells you that a guy on a production line, he can't move things that fast. They say to me, they always ask me this, can a machine be better than the designer? I know a little guy that designed a machine to pick up a freight train and empty it. He can't do that. The guys that design production methods today in machines, automation, machines work so fast, no human can do that. So the idea, will a machine surpass the performance of the designer? It'll always surpass the performance. Remember when women used to scrub clothing down by the river? The washing machine, she just turns it on. But that's crude method even today. But the future has so much new stuff to offer, like high-definition TV, and people are satisfied because they are not told what comes after that. Mm-hmm. They're not told we'll be able to culture livers and kidneys and hearts, so we don't need to plead for people for a heart transplant or sell their organs. This would be considered socially offensive. It'd be socially offensive for us to have machines watching over people. We consider that unacceptable. Machines do not monitor people. They only monitor resources. Do you understand that? Make things available to people. Monitoring people would serve no useful function.
How do we make the leap from where things are now with increasing monitoring and such an emphasis on war? How can we make the leap from where we are now?
First, I'm sorry to say this, it takes an economic collapse first. No one's about to give up what they have. Because I remember the last Depression, people came into the Berlin, the Joyce Aircraft Factory, government people said, we're taking over your plant. And Henry Berliner said, why? He said, you're going to pay taxes on your machines in 3 years. He said, I've had orders for airplanes as a Depression law. Take the goddamn factory. So a factory that you own that isn't producing anything, you're not going to defend it. You don't care anymore. So as the system collapses, let's say they have container ships that take off one container at a time. You design a ship that takes the whole container section off, floats it off. You can't sell the old ship. No one wants it. Do you understand? So factories that have been surpassed by China and India, which is going to happen. In other words, if a man doesn't put his factory up in China, if he just ships stuff up and ships it back to his factory, he's going to put his factory up over there. The engineers are going to do that. And then India is going to come up with, India is training lots of engineers that are very sharp and very interested. And so India will then come up with new ideas. And if America doesn't move, if America tries to cling to what was best 40 years ago, we will become a have-been nation. Because Americans get happy, they feel good, they build an automobile plant. Now they'd like to amortize the cost they put in to get it back. In the meantime, China might ask, maybe you don't need to stamp out fenders. Maybe you can generate a whole automobile by moving molecules. That's nanotechnology. When nanotechnology comes in, we won't worry about shortages. We'll be able to make a ham sandwich without the ham, without killing animals. We'll be able to make protein tissue. We'll be able to make kidneys. We'll be able to make steel or iron or titanium by arranging atoms into whatever molecular structure we want. That promise is about, according to nanotechnologists, not me, about 15 years off. Let's say it's 25 years off. We'll be able to make things too easy to set a price tag on them. It's too much bother, all the paperwork. If you still don't understand me, if it rained gold for 2 days, people would bring it all in the house, fill every drawer with the gold, the attic. But if it kept raining gold for a year, they'd sweep it out, take their rings off and throw it away. Do you understand that? Things have no value except in terms of their scarcity. Inventions come about, first of all, through need. You have to have a need for something. For example, there's an island off Ireland where women wear a harness like a cow, and they carry 2 buckets down from the hilltop to fill it with water to cook with. Then they go up the hill with it, and then they have to skin animals and melt down the fat for the lamps. So in the movie we have a guy walking over and says, someday, young lady, you'll turn a little gas and the water will flow right out where you live, hot and cold. And someday you'll press a button and lights will go on, and you'll turn it down, make it brighter or weaker. And she says, what will women do? You understand me? If you're brought up in that culture, that would seem that your life work, And I want to show people, what will women do? What will people do with all this technology? They think work is normal. Work is offensive. It's the worst thing you can do to people, is put them in a monotonous job. Even psychologists tell me they hear the same old crap. It's very boring, the problems people have. So they will be schooled in the future to understand people. And so you don't talk at them, you talk to them. And most people don't. They use you as an outlet, but they don't even remember what they said the next day. So we want to change all that, but it's going to take films, and the film will cause the sophisticated people to catch on right away.